Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I am working on another whole bunch of cards from one paper pad. So get comfy and let's get crafty. So this is a Recollection 6x6 paper pad. I did pick it up this year and I have a plan for 8 cards. So I'm going to use this page with 4 tags and I have picked some pattern papers from the paper pad to go with it. I am going to use, if I can get my thumbs out of the way. Okay, we're going to have to go through this the old-fashioned way. So here are all of the papers I plan to use. I'm going to use this piece to make a slimline card. I'm going to use this one to make a square card. This one will also become a square card. I will be using this for sentiments and a slimline card. I've got card bases of all shapes and sizes. So let's get going. The first thing we need to do is cut this tag piece into 4 squares. So this is a 6x6, so they're roughly 3x3 inch squares. And I have selected a pattern paper for the background and a solid colored cardstock for each of the card bases. And the first one we're going to do is this one that says Merry and Bright. And for the background colored pattern paper, I'm using this green Christmas tree and a white card base. I am going to trim this paper down to 4 by 5 1/4. That will leave us just a small outline, or border rather, on our card base. But that looks a little boring. So I am going to pull in this piece of, it's about a 1/2 inch wide gold washi tape. And I'm going to be jazzing up all of these cards with washi tape, or most of these cards with washi tape. But you don't have to do that. That's just what I decided to do. If you had nothing else in your craft room, you could make these cards without using anything else. So in order to jazz up this little tag on the front, I am going to put a border of this gold washi tape across all 4 edges. And I'm just lining it up with the lines on my grid mat so that it's relatively even on all the sides of the little tag there. Once I get all the tape down on all 4 sides, I do have to pull that up and then fold the tape over onto the back side, trim off any of the uneven edges. I did need to be very careful because this is a rather thin washi tape, and now it's ready to go on the front of the card. I did decide to pull out my 3M foam tape roll and use foam tape to pop that up. But again, if you don't have that, you could totally just use whatever adhesive, glue stick, whatever you're using to make your cards. I'm going to use my reverse pinch tweezers to hold that in place. And there you go. Card 1 is done. So the second tag doesn't have a sentiment on it. So I'm going to use this pattern paper and the striped pattern paper and the red card base. This pattern paper, I'm going to cut some of the squares out or rectangles out and try and use those as the sentiment or the focal image. I originally was planning like a cluster of 3, but it's kind of small and it didn't really work real well. So I decided to go with just the one that says Merry Christmas. I did then choose this fa la 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 paper. I don't know how many la la la's are in that. And I am going to cut 1 row of fa la la off and use it as kind of an anchoring point for that little rectangle that says Merry Christmas. I'm just going to kind of choose the one in the middle there because I think I can get it all the way in. I'm going to trim that down with my little scissors here. And I'm going to adhere that down just with my double-sided foam tape. And then I will add this Merry Christmas. But it needs a little bit of something because it is white on white on white. So I am, again, taking this gold washi tape and I'm going to stick it on a couple pieces of this pattern paper that I cut off. I'm using all the scraps even right now. I'm just going to fold that over. I'm going to attach this the Merry Christmas sentiment on top of that gold washi tape. I'm going to trim that down so there's just a slight gold border around the words, and boom, presto chanzo, it looks perfect. So it's time to just start putting things together. I am using double-sided adhesive in my ATG gun or ATG runner. I don't know why I always say gun. ATG runner, tape runner, I don't know why. And then I'm going to just adhere the Merry Christmas down. And I decided to go at it kind of at an angle because me and straight lines, yeah, we're not always best friends. So the next part is to add a panel to my card base. I'm using this pink and red and white stripe. It is a diagonal stripe, which I think is much more visually pleasing sometimes, especially holiday time. I don't know why. I don't know. I like diagonal stripes. I'm going to go ahead and score this red cardstock base in half and adhere this pattern paper to the front. And it is 4 by 5 1/4, so it's just a small margin once again. And then I will again use foam tape to pop up the tag in the middle of the card. Same as before, nothing's changing much except that because this is a red card base, I do need to add a white piece of copy paper. And I was just kind of pointing out there that the corner of that piece was kind of at the hole, peg hole in the paper pad, but I'm going to pretend that nobody will notice. It's handmade. It's not perfect, right? There's card 2 down. Card 3, we're using this one. This will tag this as Happy Holidays. It is on a diagonal stripe. I did decide to use this blue kind of Christmas tree pattern paper and a red card base because why not? But I want to do something a little bit different. I don't want to do just a panel and a tag. So the first thing I'm going to do is score my card base in half. I am making top folding US A2 size cards, which means they're all of the ones this size are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I want to take this blue pattern paper. And first I need to trim it down to 4 by 5 1/4 inches. So that makes it a standard card front panel. But then I am going to trim it on the diagonal, but I want it to go in the same direction as the stripes on my paper. This is just another way to get a different look out of your paper pad. To make it a little, I'm going to zhuzh it up a little bit. There we go. By adding a piece of this gold washi tape right to the edge of that pattern paper. I am trying to line things up on my glass work surface, and I am still struggling. Like, I love the idea of a glass work surface, but things slide all over. It's a little bit more reflective. So I'm not sure that I love it, but I do like the cleanup on it. The cleanup on it is a breeze. And my kids haven't ruined it with nail polish remover yet. So yeah, there's that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and adhere that diagonal cut down with some double-sided adhesive. Just going to put some on all 3 sides. I am making sure to go over the edge of my washi tape with that double-sided adhesive just to keep it from peeling off, so it doesn't fall apart. To adhere the tag, again, we're going to use this foam tape. This is the giant head size roll of foam tape that you get from Amazon. And I'm going to put this down right in the middle of my card front. Again, I need to put a piece of white copy paper on the inside because we have a red card base. And y'all, this is card number 3. So 3 down, 5 to go, except I have a surprise at the end. So stick around. Okay, fourth card also has a tag with no sentiment on the inside. I have off screen trimmed off a piece of that same pattern paper with the sentiments and all the boxes. And I did kind of a group of 3 with a snowflake, a Christmas tree, and then a happy holiday sentiment. And I'm going to do the same thing I did when I used this on the first card. I'm going to put some of that washi tape down on a scrap. I'm going to attach it with some double-sided adhesive, and then I'm going to trim that down off camera. And I did that off camera because I was off screen. You couldn't see it very well, so I edited that part out. And I'm just going to slap this down in the middle. I know it kind of hangs over that shape a little bit, but whatever. I am going to go ahead and trim down this pattern paper, and I'm going a little bit non-traditional with this card because the card base in this card is kind of a teal or aqua-y blue or green. So I'm going to go ahead and score that again, fold it at the top, and get ready to adhere my card pieces all together. I used this color aqua because it is the same color in that pattern. And I'm going to go ahead and put some gold washi tape around the edge of that card panel. Words are hard, y'all. And then I'm going to stick the flaps down in the corner with some Scotch tape. I didn't trim them quite close enough, so they are popping up a little bit, and I don't want them to peel off. I mean, washi tape isn't known for being sticky forever and ever, right? So we're just going to go ahead and add that. And so that finishes off that panel kind of nicely. And it's a little bit hard to tell which direction is up with this pattern paper. I will go ahead and adhere that down with my double-sided tape, again going over the edges of the washi tape. When I am putting card panels on my card bases, I like to turn them so that I can see 3 sides equally. And that makes it so I can kind of mostly get the card panel centered without having to stop and measure everything. Now, this card is a little bit busier. It's got a pattern paper on a pattern paper, but it's okay. I like it. I am going to go ahead and put a piece of copy paper on the inside of this card base as well, even though it's not quite as dark. And that is 4 4¼ by 5½ cards. We are now going to move on to this square card. So I have some black 5½ by 5½ inch card bases in my stash from 1.5 zillion years ago. So I am just going to trim this down a little at a time with my paper trimmer until I feel like it's going to fit on my card base. You are not going to see me do most of it. I am intending to trim down and go around the top side of that wreath. Didn't trim necessarily the straightest, but we're going with it. I am also going to cut down a few of the pieces on this striped pattern paper and use them to decorate the front, the green space in that pattern paper. So these 6x6 pads are actually the same as the 12 by 12 inch pads at Michael's. They're just shrunk so that they work better for card makers versus scrapbooking layouts and stuff. So every once in a while you get a pattern paper that doesn't really translate well, like these square papers. They don't translate well into making A2 size cards. So you do have to get a little bit creative. So since I had the card bases and envelopes, I just went with square card. Now I needed to get a piece of gold washi tape on this card base and it was not holding still. So I put a little bit of adhesive on the back, just stuck it down to my glass work surface, and all will be right in just a minute. I am going to flop that tape over onto the back and adhere it down, and then I can stick this piece that has these sentiments. And I went back and forth with which way to do it because obviously now the paper is smaller than the sentiment strip. So I am just going to center it and cut off the ends. So on each side of the card, you will see half of a sentiment, but there will be 2 in the middle, Happy Holidays and Feeling Jolly, that are there in their entirety. Now on the bottom of that piece of gold washi tape, I am going to take this strip that is the green snowflakes and the red scallop edge, and I am layering the pattern paper just barely over the edge of the washi tape, and that will help keep the washi tape from peeling up off the front of the card as well. Now that I've trimmed off the sides off camera because it was sticking to my paper trimmer and it was a pain, I am going to go ahead and use some double-sided adhesive to adhere this card front to the front of our square card base. It's not the fanciest card I've ever made, but to hold something like one of those bigger sized gift cards, I think it will be perfect. I definitely need to add the piece of white copy paper, or I could write on it with a white gel pen, but this is kind of a linen paper, and that would be nonsense. So that is card number 5. We're moving on to card number 6. It is also going to be square. And this one works out to, if I trim it just outside that second white border, it will be exactly the same size as my black card base. Now, I could have made a 6x6 card base. I could have done lots of things, but I just left it how it was already working. So it is going to be exactly or just marginally smaller than my card base. So I am going to put some tape runner on the back side of the pattern paper, going to line it up on my card base, and it is done, but it feels a little bit like it could use a little bling. So I pulled out my Wink of Stella glitter pen. Again, this is not something you have to do. You could 100% make this card without any extras, but it was on my desk from another project. And the sad part about Wink of Stella is that in real life, it is so pretty and it does not film. I would have to turn off all of the lights in my room, including my overhead lights, and then just shine a little flashlight on it for you to get any of the bling and the glitter, but it's so pretty and I love it. So I am just going around all of these letters, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit to the bigger dot snowflakes there. And then this card is finished as well. I did forget to put the copy paper on the inside, so I will have to do that before I mail it, and that is card number 6. So for cards number 7 and 8, I'm working on the mini slimline. Mini slimline cards are the size of a dollar bill, and they fit in a regular mail envelope. This image with the gingerbread house and the train is not as tall as the front of our card panel, so I am going to use washi tape and this striped pattern paper again. Now, I remembered that also on my desk, I have some gold glittery washi tape. So I'm going to trade out not gold glittery, green glittery washi tape. So I am going to trade the gold for the green and just put some of this green, super skinny, it's like maybe a 1/4 inch wide or even 1/8 inch wide. Washi tape, that's the word, washi tape, in between some of these stripes. And it just adds just a little bit of a bling, just enough to make it look beautiful and pretty. The top 2 pieces I'm going to adhere on the back with some Scotch tape just to make sure that the seam is not going to be perfect because they were not ever originally attached, but I'm going to cover it up with green sparkly washi tape. I just need to make sure that it's lined up on my grid mat so that I can make sure that it's at least mostly straight. And then I decided to put one along the bottom edge there between those snowflakes and the little gifts on the bottom. And then all we have left to do is attach this to the front of a slimline card base, which is 6 inches long by 3.5-ish inches tall. I have this made out of a 100-pound cardstock. I think I purchased it at Michael's. I could be lying to you. Don't remember. Sorry. I will make sure and go over all of the folded edges of the washi tape with my tape runner just to make sure that they don't peel up because, again, washi tape is not permanent. And because this is going to be the entire side of the card front, I am going to just stack it up and hold it on the front of or the flat surface of my desk. And then the card base wasn't exactly straight, so I went ahead and trimmed that out. And card number 8 is also a slimline card. It's 3.5 inches tall, 6 inches long, and I have this seam, so I'm going to cut it to be exactly the same as our card front as well. It looks a little bit plain, so I'm playing around with how to make it look more pretty. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but I did not like the idea of the gold going around it again. This card base I folded wonky, so I needed to fix that. So I'm just standing it up on one end and using my hands, you know how you stack paper? Yeah. So I pulled out this fa la 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 paper again, and I'm trimming off one more strip, and then I'm going to cut it down to have one fa la la, just like I did on the first card. And then I can attach that to the top of the card as a sentiment. But again, it needs a little something something. So back to the scraps and that gold washi tape. And you'll notice the scraps I'm using to do this are the scraps that are the cutoffs from the top of the 6x6 pad. So I'm not using anything that I would use for something else even. So it's a great way to use all those little pieces that you cut off of your paper. And once I've made sure I have covered enough of the scrap paper with my gold washi tape, I will go ahead and adhere this down with double-sided adhesive and trim it out. And then I'm going to pop this up with a piece of 3M foam tape just to add a little bit of dimension on this somewhat flat card. And this is card number 8. So we have 4 A2 size cards. We have 2 5x5 inch cards and 2 mini slimline cards with 1 pad of paper, 2 rolls of washi tape, and a Wink of Stella pen. And then I had all of these cut pieces of paper and a piece of cardstock on my desk. So I went for bonus card number 9. Now I have sped this up a ton because I had 0 plan for this card. Didn't plan on making this card. But I have a red card base, and I cut down that fa la 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 paper to 3 3/4 by 5. And then I am cutting strips of all of these other pattern papers I used. Some of them are 1/2 inch, some of them are 1/4 inch, some of them are 3/8 of an inch. And I am just trimming them down to create a multi-dimensional or multi-pattern background to this pattern paper. I cut more than I needed. Sorry. And I am just going to line them up diagonally across the front of my card. I pretended I had a plan in place, but really my only plan was to keep the sizes and the colors separate so they weren't redundant in the same order over and over again. I did determine where I wanted my first piece and drew a pencil line on it. And I'm going to put this skinny green washi tape in between all of the stripes. These super skinny stripes, I needed to pull out my liquid adhesive for. I'm also using that gold washi tape as one of the stripes. So it will have a little bit of a not flat dimension because the washi tape is slightly thinner or a lot thinner than this double-sided pattern paper. So the cool thing about the Michaels 6x6 pads is they are double-sided. So you get an A side with the tags and the scenes and the B side with the patterns. And often the B sides are a tone-on-tone looking pattern, so you have lots of variety to use. I do not intend to cover the entire card front. Once I get the green washi tape down here on the top and the bottom, I decide I'm finished. And I did trim that off. It was a hot mess because I had washi tape everywhere. And then I added some foam tape to the back of my fa la 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 pattern and added it to the card base, and it was all done. So here is a quick rundown of all 8 cards plus our bonus from scraps that I made with one pad of paper. I did add foam tape and washi tape and Wink of Stella because they were on my desk. But you low-key could make all of these pattern paper cards without any of those things. So 9 cards. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you enjoyed watching this super fast card tutorial. I have 2 other videos here I think you might like, as well as a subscribe button. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did. Leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and have a fa la 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 kind of day.